What was the real Canadian 60s? It wasn't just peace signs and pop charts, it was a unique blend of global excitement and distinctly northern charm, where your memories have a different ring to them, a ring you'll only recognize if you know what a friendly giant is or where you were during Expo 67. For a brief, dazzling period in 1967, Canada felt like the absolute center of the world. Expo 67 in Montreal was more than a World's Fair. It was a national awakening. You remember the sheer futuristic optimism of it all, walking the site, seeing Buckminster Fuller's majestic U.S. geodesic dome, the imposing Soviet Union structure, and the daring Habitat 67 housing experiment. Getting around was an adventure itself, riding the Expo Express or the elevated mini-rail. As a kid, the entire site was a playground of global discovery where you could collect pavilion stamps in your Expo passport and meet people from every corner of the earth. This event gave you a tangible feeling of Canada arriving on the global stage, promising a modern, exciting future. The architecture, the monorail, and the sheer volume of global visitors made you fiercely proud to be Canadian, a feeling that solidified national identity for a whole generation. Television viewing was a physical, shared household event. It wasn't about instant streaming. It involved the long warm-up time of the vacuum tubes after you flipped the power switch, sometimes waiting a minute for the picture to appear. Getting a watchable image was a hands-on chore. Someone had to fine-tune the clicky VHF/UHF dial, while someone else yelled instructions while physically holding or rotating the rabbit ears antenna. You typically had only 2 or 3 channels, CBC and CTV being the main national options, plus a fuzzy American channel near the border. Since the entire family shared the single bulky set, often in black and white, programming was a collective decision. This scarcity and effort made every show, from the national news to imported comedies, a significant and communal event in the 1960s Canadian home. These iconic CBC programs formed the bedrock of Canadian children's television, establishing a gentle, distinctly non-commercial approach that stood apart from the more frenetic American fare. The memory of tuning into the friendly giant is a deeply tranquil one. The kind, soft-spoken voice of Bob Hom, the ritual of the castle wall door opening, and the camera panning up to reveal the miniature furniture. The familiar cue, "Look up! Look way up!" signaled the arrival of his beloved puppet friends, Jerome the giraffe, who needed the door opened wide, and Rusty the rooster in his rocking chair, ready for music and story time. This deliberate pace and focus on calm interaction defined a significant part of early Canadian childhood. Equally cherished was the other national treasure, Ernie Coombs's Mr. Dressup. This program centered on creativity and imagination, particularly the moment when he'd retrieve puppets, Casey and Finnegan, from the magical tickle trunk. These simple, enduring shows did more than just entertain. They cultivated a vital sense of calm, fostered early creativity, and powerfully instilled a soft but sure sense of Canadian identity in generations of young viewers. They were cornerstones of shared cultural experience, reinforcing the value of quiet wonder and storytelling in the Canadian home. The corner store's ambiance extended beyond the sweets. It was the place you went for baseball cards, the wax packages holding brittle sticks of gum, and the thrill of a potential star player. It was where you bought the local newspaper for your parents or got a crush pop in the heavy glass bottle, knowing you'd return the empty for the deposit. The owner, often standing sentinel behind the high counter, was a quiet authority figure who knew every kid's name and sometimes even extended a small line of credit until your mother came in tomorrow. The transaction was personal, never rushed, and steeped in community trust. The freedom of spending your own hard-earned pennies and nickels on a bag of sugar was a small, delicious taste of 1960s independence, irreplaceable in modern memory. Canadian Tire money transcended its function as a mere discount coupon. For a generation of kids, it was akin to a secret, second national currency. These distinctive paper notes, typically earned by a parent, often your dad, after a fill-up at a Canadian Tire gas bar, featured the face of the mascot, Sandy McTire. They came in small denominations, such as 5-cent, 10-cent, and 25-cent notes, which were meticulously folded, collected, and stashed away. This crinkly, colorful paper represented genuine earned wealth, and the act of accumulating enough of it to finally afford a coveted item, be it a new toy, a hockey stick, or a bike part, was considered a crucial rite of passage. The pursuit of a big purchase using these notes taught valuable, tangible life lessons. The sheer persistence and patience required to save up the small change for an expensive item like a new bike tire or accessory provided an early introduction to saving and personal finance. This system was a uniquely Canadian tradition that cleverly fostered strong commercial loyalty to the retailer from an early age. More than just transactional value, Canadian Tire money gave kids a profound and satisfying feeling of independence, proving that hard-won wealth, even paper wealth, could achieve dreams. The Hudson's Bay Point blanket is far more than just bedding. It's a profound cultural symbol and an heirloom woven into the fabric of Canadian identity. You'd instantly recognize the specific, reassuring weight of its heavy, dense wool and the distinct, scratchy texture, a true measure of its legendary durability. Its most iconic feature is the universally recognized multi-stripe pattern, sometimes called the Queen Anne's lace pattern, which served as an essential layer for surviving Canada's bitter cold nights, providing warmth whether at a remote cabin or spread out for a summer picnic. The blanket's heritage is inextricably linked to the historic fur trade, where the point's small, dark lines woven into the edge were not decorative, but a practical code, indicating the blanket's original value in the currency of the time. Beaver pelts. This system made the blanket a crucial commodity in the exchange between traders and First Nations people. Owning one of these blankets connected the owner's everyday life directly to the nation's deep, rugged past, solidifying its status as a cherished, enduring piece of Canadian history. The battle for the breakfast bowl pitted two distinct Canadian heavyweights against each other, embodying the wholesome versus the indulgent. On one side was Shreddies, the diamond-shaped toasted whole wheat cereal, representing parental-approved, slightly bland nutrition. On the other was Sugar Crisp, now post-Golden Crisp, which offered a sheer, unapologetic sugar rush, celebrated by its unforgettable cartoon bear mascot and famous jingle, "Ain't no way to get enough." Both brands fueled a distinctly Canadian childhood rivalry. The importance of the cereal was often secondary to the excitement of finding the small prize hidden deep inside the box, a crucial part of the morning ritual that made these two Canadian staples so beloved. Foster Hewitt and Hockey Night in Canada made Saturday night a sacred Canadian ritual. Hewitt's distinct, energetic voice was recognized as the voice of the nation, skillfully conveying the game's atmosphere despite fuzzy black and white screens. His calls, punctuated by the crowd's roar and the crack of the puck, brought the action to life and were critical in the era of limited camera technology. The weekly broadcast often focused on the intense rivalry between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens, transcended sports. This powerful cultural event anchored Canadian life and was instrumental in forging the national identity around a shared passion for hockey. The program was a unifying national experience, making it a pivotal piece of Canadian cultural history. The Eaton's Catalogue, a massive, thick publication, was a major pre-online shopping event, with the Christmas edition famously dubbed the Wish Book. This heavy catalog served as the primary source of commercial fantasy and a nationwide retail reference. Children meticulously marked pages dreaming of toys, while adults relied on it for fashion, home goods, and price comparison across Canada. More than just a shopping tool, the Catalogue semi-annual cycle effectively marked the seasons and provided a crucial cultural link connecting rural and urban Canadians to the same trends and consumer dreams from coast to coast. Its widespread influence made it an iconic piece of Canadian social and consumer history. If you were listening to a radio in the 1960s, the distinctive four-note musical chime was an automatic sound marker. This specific formal set of notes, known as the CBC chimes, marked the top of every hour on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. This brief, formal melody was the auditory signature of Canadian public life, serving as a reliable anchor that preceded all major. In the 1960s, the distinctive four-note musical chime, the CBC chimes, audio waveform icon, was an automatic sound marker on the radio, signaling the top of every hour on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. This brief, formal melody served as the auditory signature of Canadian public life. It was a reliable anchor that preceded all major national news broadcasts, giving the listener a moment to pause and prepare for important information. The chime officially segmented the country's programming schedule, providing a clear, consistent structure to Canadian radio. More than just a time signal, the CBC chimes were a ubiquitous, unifying sound that symbolized a shared national experience and the reliable presence of the public broadcaster across Canada national news broadcasts and officially segmented the country's programming schedule. Family road trips offered a unique zone of freedom in the way back seat of the station wagon. In a less regulated era of car safety, this rear-facing space, often without seat belts, was the designated area for kids and overflow luggage. The chief activity was making faces and hand gestures at the drivers and passengers in the cars following on the highway. This interaction was a thrilling and slightly terrifying experience that defined long, unsupervised stretches of childhood travel. The way back seat was more than just a place to sit. It represented a temporary, playful escape from parental supervision, cementing its place as a nostalgic symbol of childhood road trips and the simpler, less safety-conscious motoring culture of the time. The charm of early Canadian children's programming lay in its earnest simplicity and a distinct low-budget aesthetic, which immediately set it apart from the high-gloss cartoons being produced in the United States. Series like Rocket Robin Hood and The Mighty Hercules were defined by a noticeably choppy, sometimes unsettling animation style, a visual signature that became a quick identifier for a generation. This lack of fluid, high-quality production wasn't a detractor. Rather, it contributed to the feeling that these were authentic, personal, and proudly homegrown shows. This local content carved out a significant niche in the national pop culture landscape, demonstrating that genuine cultural impact was entirely achievable without the massive budgets of international rivals. The memorable elements of these productions became instant cultural touchstones for Canadian youth. Whether it was the deep, commanding voice of Robin Hood or the sight of his slightly odd, futuristic, yet clearly cheaply rendered characters, these quirks fostered a powerful, collective nostalgic experience. This unique style wasn't a flaw, but a defining feature of the era. It powerfully proved that a deep sense of shared identity and cultural significance could be built through heartfelt local creativity, affirming that high production value was secondary to the value of seeing Canadian stories and styles reflected on the television screen. Before the introduction of the loonie, $1 coin, the silver dollar was an actual piece of large, heavy currency made of or near silver. Receiving one was an exciting, significant event, as it was rarely used for everyday transactions. Instead, the coin was typically reserved for special occasions or immediately added to a collection. Its substantial size and weight communicated that this was serious, important money, contrasting sharply with the lightweight modern coins used today. The silver dollar's presence held a distinct sense of value and tradition, marking it as a memorable financial keepsake and a symbol of a different era in Canadian currency and exchange. The Canadian childhood was inextricably tied to the wilderness and the outdoors. Family trips to the cottage, the lake, or the campsite were defined by two specific essential scents: the chemical aroma of insect repellent and the bright hot smell of the Coleman lantern. The lantern's distinctive hiss and powerful white light were mandatory for any evening activity. This signature light and sound combination clearly signaled that one was deep in the woods and far from the city. These two omnipresent sensory details, the potent bug spray and the reliable glow of the lantern, are iconic elements of Canadian outdoor nostalgia, symbolizing the adventure and necessary preparations for embracing the country's vast natural environment. The 1960s ushered in official bilingualism in Canada, a major cultural and political shift. Children witnessed the gradual transition to seeing French and English side by side on common packaging like cereal boxes, milk cartons, and street signs. This daily exposure started as a slight novelty, but soon became a complete normalcy. This visual change served as a subtle, tangible, and constant reminder that one was growing up in a country committed to two official languages. The everyday bilingual packaging and signage normalized the new national policy, embedding the reality of two founding languages directly into the consumer and public landscape, making it a passive but powerful part of the Canadian childhood experience. The 1960s in Canada was a pivotal time, bridging old Commonwealth tradition and our independent nation. These 15 memories capture that sweet transition when homegrown Canadian culture found its voice. It deserves to be remembered. One snow day, one Smartie, and one Expo 67 memory at a time. Don't let these memories fade. Hit subscribe to keep exploring the unique northern charm that defined a generation.